Welcome to another episode of Unbridled Medicine TV. I am your host, Hillary Schneider. I wanted to do a video talking about my journey of coming out of the woo-woo closet, as I called it a couple years ago. This week, I've been doing a live retreat series talking about recalibrating our potency. And I wanted to come up here and share a little bit around that topic because it's been something that I have been working with clients this month in terms of people coming to me and asking for my help in terms of, supporting them and being able to really claim the fullness of their medicine in their work. And so one of the things that I notice is a very common a disconnect or place of hiding is where we don't share the full range or the fullness of who we are because we're afraid of being seen or we're afraid of being accepted or embraced in, in our authenticity and our authentic self. And my own journey with this and how it relates to my business, because it's sort of a dovetailing both on bridling our medicine and how that impacts, the spaces that we create around that in our work and in our offerings. And when I was sort of in this place of really holding back or tethering myself because I was in this fear place, it had a really negative effect on my business. And I think there's this perspective both from, personally existing in a place where I feel like I can't be my authentic self. And I think that is very uncomfortable and can be painful. And then from the perspective of when we don't let ourselves authentically be felt in our offerings and in our work and how we show up, it's really difficult for us to attract our people because we're not resonating or showing up or speaking the language that is authentic to us and to them. And so my own sort of journey with this kind of comes back to 2014. And I was struggling in my business in a couple of different areas, like all the places that you could struggle, I was struggling. I wasn't in love with my work. I was really burnt out with my clients. I kind of didn't love all the sessions I was doing and who I was working with. My business financially was struggling. I was in a lot of debt and I felt just really disconnected. And I sort of didn't have this identity of knowing who I was in my work. And I was really insecure. I was afraid of, speaking my truth or being seen in, especially for me, kind of my woo-woo side. So I was hiding that. And I know I had this moment where actually I was doing a business course in 2014. And we had this activity of, doing our elevator speech type thing. And it was like an impossible activity for me to do. And to explain what I did. And I realized from that activity, and I looked at my website and it was like, there's no part of me that is being felt in the current existence of my website and my work. It's like the essence of who I am is just not there. And so I really took some time to sit with that of, where I was hiding myself. And that was a really big thing for me was I was afraid of being seen and I was afraid of being judged. And because all my life I had heard, this part of me that was too out there or too woo-woo, that I would never be successful building a business. And that wasn't essentially people wouldn't respect that. You're not going to be able to attract clients. And basically that was a negative aspect of who I was, or not accepted or embraced. And so I really struggled with that. And it was also a really deep part of who I am, the connection to spirit. And I believe in manifestation and ritual and horse medicine, like all of that stuff that I speak to now, back then was all done behind the scenes because I was so afraid of sinking my business and also being rejected. And I sort of got to this point where my back was up against the wall and I was really looking at a reality, either something changes or at that point I was leasing a facility. I'm going to lose this facility and my horses aren't going to have a home. And that element of failure through my own abandonment of myself was not something that sat very well with me. And I was scared, and I had an intuition that if I showed up in who I was authentically, all parts of me, things would turn around. And I was terrified. So, I had to sort of find a way to overcome that fear, um, and, be who I was in my work. And so one of the things that I shared on these calls this week is, how do we navigate that place where we feel, we've had maybe this negative feedback on aspects of our nature, who we are, that maybe our peers or community or society or family members have told us, you can't be that, or we've been judged for that. But I think the thing that often is our greatest insecurity around ourselves, or the thing that we've been made to feel bad about, is often our superpower, our medicine. My woo and my intuition and my sensitivity are a big part of my gift and a big part of my message. And I had to find a way to look at that through a positive lens, and not through the feedback that I'd gotten in my life that this was a thing that I had to hide. And so a couple places to unpack this. First of all, one of the things that really helped me was to ask that question of, just for myself and my own purpose, why is it important for me to let myself be seen? And we often make it up about that validation of needing to be accepted by other people, or the judgment thing. And it's not really about that. Showing up in our fullness and our potency and our medicine and our authentic self really isn't about getting externally validated. And we have to sometimes remind ourselves of that. And so for me, I kind of sat with, what is it that I want for my own experience in my life? And for me personally, my personal stake, I feel very passionate and believing in my core that I am here in this lifetime, in this body, to have my medicine be felt. And I want to live a life where I'm allowing that expression to move through me. So living in a way that I'm hiding or conforming myself just doesn't feel good to me. And I want to live in a way that feels good to me, of, when I get to the end of my life, what do I want to feel good about? And if I can show up in myself and share my gifts every day, that's deeply, very personally fulfilling. So sometimes we need to think about, what is it for us? And it's not about any of that other outside stuff. And that often is where the courage comes from. It's like, if nothing else, I want to share who I am, because I feel like in that place, I'm creating a personal fulfillment to my personal purpose of why I'm in this body, in this lifetime. And I'm living for me, not anybody else, right? I always say that nobody else lives the consequences of my choices internally as much as I do. Not to say that our choices don't impact other people, but I'm the one who suffers when I'm out of integrity, or I'm hiding elements of myself. I feel that personal struggle, and nobody else does. My parents don't, society doesn't, I do. And I'm not willing to live that way. So I think it's that question of, how are you willing to live? And then the second thing, for me, that really supports it is, who am I serving through my medicine? And one of the things I shared about, and this was a big aha moment for me, the people that I'm worried about judging me or not embracing me for who I am are not really my people. I'm not showing up for those people that are criticized. And also, as a side note, as human beings, we judge. It's not personal. We all do it. We're a judgmental species. So, I'm not going to avoid being judged, but that's not really why, being my authentic self, that's not who it's for. I show up for myself because of how I personally want to live my life. And I show up for the people and the collective and the horses that I feel that I really want to be an inspiration to. And I know for me, it's like, I really believe deeply in all of our quests of letting our medicine be felt in the world. I know that I cannot support that quest in other people if I don't hold it for myself. I love my clients. I love my community. I so appreciate the support, that I get from people. That's who I'm showing up for, not the people that don't get it. And so our tendency sometimes as humans is we focus on kind of the negative, and we don't realize, or we forget, that there is a whole collective of people that are waiting for you to show up authentically, and that are yearning for it and are seeking that medicine, and they can't find you if you're hiding. So that's the thing that we have to really land in, is that knowing that there's people in this world that are going to embrace me for who I am, that are seeking exactly what I have to give. And I owe it to them and also to my own fulfillment of my purpose to show up in that. And so that really is for me the anchors that allowed me to overcome this intense fear of being seen. And, I often also say we can be with discomfort. It's not always comfortable for me to show up. I still sometimes cringe when I'm doing videos like this or whatever. And I'm sharing these pieces or podcasts, and I'm speaking this way of, it's scary. It's scary. It's vulnerable. I don't think we ever get over that. And it's more important to me to honor those other pieces of purpose and fulfillment than it is to honor my fear. And that's sometimes the thing that we have to remind ourselves is, do I want to honor my fear or do I want to honor my purpose? And I might still be afraid to do this, but I know that I'm going to actually be able to live with myself a little bit more deeply if I let myself be authentic. And I can move through fear. I can be uncomfortable in fear and I will survive that, right? It's like I might not survive hiding myself for the rest of my life. And so those are the things that sometimes we have to create as a reminder of why it's important for us to show up. So that was really what helped me. And then in 2014, I went through this place of completely rebranding and creating a new website and writing my copy for the first time and speaking in words and terminology. Like I use the word medicine a lot, and I use that behind the scenes and talking about manifestation. And it just really was like my coming out party. And I was scared. And I did it. And what was so amazing to me, that was very affirmative, is when I let myself be seen in that light, my community filled, my coaching practice sold out. I made multiple six figures in my business. And I really accredit a big piece of that was my embracing and coming out in my authenticity in my work and in myself, that this is who I am in the world and I'm going to shine that really brightly. That's our potency and that's our medicine. And that's always my own inquiry to this day when I'm creating something, is how do I create an alignment with that quest of letting my full self be seen and my full medicine be felt, and where do I still hold back? And then some of the exercises, because I've been doing this with my clients over this last month, or people reaching out to me to help them with that, I often sit with these inquiries to ask yourself, what part of myself am I holding back? What part of myself or my medicine wants to be felt? And then just an exercise of just letting yourself write, not for copy, not for anybody else, but yourself. What is the message or the voice or the essence of me that wants to move through me right now and be communicated? And I do this exercise if I just need that to come out and not think about where it's going to go, just so I allow that expression. What does it look like for me to show up in a deeper place of authenticity? And what would it look like for me to start to try that out, in terms of in my writing pieces? I'm a writer. If anybody follows me, I write a lot. I get a lot of fulfillment personally from writing. It's my own expression. And when I started sharing those authentic shares or deepening that space of horse medicine or my own journey, that's what's really resonating with people. And it's a very special feeling to know that we've allowed ourselves to be vulnerably seen in our essence. It's a very powerful feeling. And so that's my inquiries to myself. And I often say to my clients, when it comes to your business, if you think about what part of me am I holding back on, what element of my gifts do I don't share publicly with people? A lot of my work when I'm working with clients and we go through, their website or their offerings, and they start to tell me about the work, and it's like, well, why don't you tell people you do past life healing? Or why don't you tell people that you do somatic trauma work? And, why isn't that being articulated? So it's thinking about, what are those places in me or in my work that I don't articulate? And what does it look like for me to start weaving that into the conversation? And that reminder, there are thousands, if not millions of people that are seeking you and your authentic medicine and your authentic self, they cannot find and connect with you if you're not sharing that part of who you are. So there's a personal fulfillment place in this. And then absolutely when it comes to unbridling our work in the world, this is a really important piece. I find that the biggest success of my work has really come from the sharing of the authenticity of who I am and the depths of what I do and my languaging around it, and revealing those different parts of me that maybe sometimes I feel still a little bit tender about. That's what really attracts my people. And I need to be in that space to resonate with the people that I really want to work with. So there's a couple of places there where that is a really powerful place for us to show up in. So I came out of the woo closet, and I continue to use that inquiry in everything I write and create. And the impact of that has been a liberation within myself, and where I feel like I'm really honoring my life, that my own personal purpose. And my business flourishes, in terms of having clients and people coming and signing up and working with me, and, where we're seeking that impact as well. And I love my work. This is the thing too, when we are authentically showing up in our work, we love our work. So I'm no longer resentful of my clients. I'm not burnt out in my sessions. It's like, I love what I do. I love the people who I get to work with. And it feels like these are my people because I'm in that embodiment. So wherever that needed to land for you today, you can take that in. For a deeper conversation or inquiry of this series around potency that I said I did sort of a series of calls, you are welcome to get in touch with me through my website at hillaryschneider.com, and I'm happy to send those over to you. You can also follow me on my website or Facebook on Hillary Schneider. I also have a Facebook group called Epona Rising Women's Circle, and Women Who Run with Horses. So you can kind of find me and kind of follow me there, and kind of soak up some of the things that I teach about. If this has really resonated with you, please let me know. Love to hear it in the comments, or feel free to share it for people. And we will see you on the next episode.